Hey guys, Elazara here, and tonight we're going to be playing Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. So I'm trying to do like a little countdown to Halloween by playing some scary or, kind of bloody-esque games for the month of October, because Halloween's just one of my favorite holidays, so let's have some fun. Here we go.
In the name of my health and yours, Holmes, stop smoking so much. There is more fog in our apartment than in the street.
You are right, Watson, but this evening is never ending, and I have nothing to do but make smoke rings. A more amusing pastime would suit better, but my doctor is against it.
Perhaps a little tune on the violin.
My heart is not in it tonight, Watson. Have you noticed how this cigarette burns? Would you not say it is like a life being consumed? How many lives will end tonight in London? How many crimes will be committed within the life of a single cigarette? Ah, the vanity of existence. It is but complaints and smoke, the meagre panache of its sickly soul.
The tobacco is giving you very somber thoughts. I am certain that this inactivity will not last. Let's retire. You'll be in better humour tomorrow.
Reason speaks. Let's to bed.
Let's to bed. Oh, Sherlock. Do-do-do. Ooh. Dark Street. Yes. A new adventure of Sherlock Holmes. Excellent. Yay! Do-do-do-do. Whitechapel, London. 31st of August, 1888, 3:20 a.m. Cackle, cackle, cackle. Oh.
Come this way, my lovely. We'll have a right good time. Wait, let me help you.
Oh, hello.
Oh, it's my hair that pleases you.
Oh no! Oh, them nails. She don't look so good. Oh. Oh. Gushy sounds. Ugh, dripping blood. Ooh. Baker Street, September 1st, 1888.
The news is as dark as the sky, Holmes. An inquest has been opened into the murder of a poor woman in the East End. The unfortunate girl was discovered last night, lying in the street, still warm. The murderer was filled with an incredible savagery. Oh, the article gave me shivers down my spine. The inspectors in charge of the case don't seem to have even the slightest lead. A similar murder took place less than a month ago.
Ah, love. A romantic walk, a kiss in the moonlight, a polite refusal, a terrible anger, and a hanging.
This area of Whitechapel is a disgrace to London. The government should take serious note of what is going on there.
Whitechapel? This woman was found in Whitechapel?
Yes, indeed. Bucks Row, to be specific.
Then it was not a question of romance, but of commerce. Unless these women actually take pleasure in the vice, the female nature is completely
Holmes, do you hear yourself? A woman is dead under unspeakable circumstances. No less than any other, she was a human and one of Her Majesty's subjects. None of these streetwalkers of which you speak have any other way to survive but by selling their bodies. You know as well as I that our era is not a gentle one, and these women don't have much to look forward to. Some grace, if you would. Do not refuse them your compassion.
Do not say another word, my dear Watson. We shall leave immediately for Whitechapel.
To the scene of the crime?
No, I think it would be better to arrive there a bit later once night has fallen. At the moment, the spot will be overrun by police officers and spectators. It would be impossible to investigate properly.
Then where are we
good.
going, Holmes?
The best thing to do would be to head to the police station and attempt to get a copy of the preliminary reports.
But the
Alrighty
article in
then.
the Star seemed quite complete to me.
You must know, Watson, that journalists often draw conclusions from the facts without a proper understanding of how to do this delicate task. We must obtain the reports from the inspector in charge, as well as those from the coroner.
Very well, Holmes, but all the same.
It seems to me that I have a map of London somewhere, Watson. Can you find it and locate Whitechapel while I get ready?
You are too kind, Holmes. Searching through your mess?
Oh, I thank you, Dr. Holmes. Okay, The Star, Saturday, 1st of September, 1888. Special edition, The Whitechapel Horror, the third crime of a man who must be a maniac. Women lured to by streets to be butchered. The latest victim identified. Opening of the inquest. Great local excitement. Excitement? Not exciting. She's dead. The victim of the latest Whitechapel horror, the woman who was found yesterday morning in Bucks Row completely disemboweled and with her head nearly gashed from her body, was for a time completely unknown. As the news of the murder spread, however, first one woman and then another came forward to view the body, and at length it was found that a woman answering in the description of a murdered woman had lodged in a common lodging house, 18 Thrall Street, Spitalfields. Women from that place were fetched, and they identified the deceased as Polly, who had shared a room with 3 other women in the place on the usual terms of such houses. Nightly payment of 4D. I don't know what 4D is. 4D each. Each woman having a separate bed. It was gathered that the deceased had led the life of an unfortunate while lodging in the house, which was only for about 3 weeks past. Nothing more was known of her by them, but that when she presented herself for her lodging on Thursday night, she was turned away by the deputy because she had not the money. She was then the worse for drink, but not drunk, and turned away laughing, saying, "I'll soon get my dust money. See what a jolly bonnet I've got now." She was wearing a bonnet which she had not been seen with before, and left the lodging house door. A woman of the neighborhood saw her later, she told the police, even as late as 2:30 on Friday morning in Whitechapel Road. Late as 2:30 on Friday morning in Whitechapel Road, opposite the church and at the corner of Osborne Street, and at 3:45 she was found within 500 yards of the spot murdered. The people of the lodging house knew her as Polly, but at about 7:30 last evening, a woman named Mary Ann Monk, at present an inmate of Lambeth Workhouse, was taken to the mortuary and identified the body as that of Mary Ann Nichols, also called Polly Nichols. She knew her, she said, as they were inmates of the Lambeth Workhouse together in April and May last, the deceased having had passed there from another workhouse. On 12 May, according to Monk, Nichols left the workhouse to take a situation as servant at Ingleside, Wandsworth Common. It afterwards became known that Nichols betrayed her trust as domestic servant by stealing, I think that's £3, from her employer and absconding. From that time, she had been wandering about. Monk met her, she said, about 6 weeks ago, when herself out of the workhouse and drank with her. She was sure that the deceased was Polly Nichols, and having twice viewed the features as the body lay in a shell, maintained her opinion. There is a terribly significant similarity between this ghastly crime and the 2 mysterious murders of women which have occurred in the same district within the last 3 months. In each case, the victim has been a woman of abandoned character. Each crime has been committed in the dark hours of the morning, and more important still, as pointing to one man, and that man a maniac, being the culprit. Each murder has been accompanied by hideous mutilation. In the second case, that of the woman Martha Turner, it will be remembered that no fewer than 30 stabs were inflicted. The scene of this murder was George Yard, a place appropriately known locally as the slaughterhouse. As in both other cases, there was in this not the slightest clue to the murderer. No one was known to have any motive for causing the woman's death. She was parted from her husband and had lived with a man named Turner, but the searching coroner's inquiry revealed nothing connecting either with the crime. It was fancied that some of her many wounds had been caused by a bayonet, and she was soon to have been seen with a soldier shortly before her death. Some soldiers were paraded at the tower, and one was said to have been identified by policemen as having been waiting about George Yard just about the time of the murder, but nothing came of it. The first murder, which, strangely enough, did not rouse such much interest, was committed in Osborne Street. The woman in the case was alive when discovered, but unconscious, and she died in the hospital without recovering her senses. Consequently, she was unable to whisper a word to put the police on the track of her fiendish assailant, and her murder has remained a mystery. All 3 crimes have been committed within a very small radius. Each of the ill-lighted thoroughfares to which the women were decoyed to be foully butchered are off turnings from Whitechapel Road, and all are within half a mile. The fact that these 3 tragedies have been committed within such a limited area and are strangely alike in their deaths is forcing on all minds the conviction that they are the work of some cool, cunning man with a mania for murder. There was no new light thrown on the case this morning. At 9 o'clock, the body of deceased was removed from the mortuary to an improvised operating room on the premises, and Dr. Ralph Lewin made a post-mortem examination. The object of the examination was to determine, if possible, the order in which the various cuts were made. It is evident from the cuts in the throat that the head was bent back by the murderer before the knife was used. Whether the other mutilation took place before or after death remains to be settled, as also the position in which the woman lay when the deed done. There are several questions of this kind which may throw light on the case, notably the small quantity of blood at the place where she was found, and the fact that there must have been much of it somewhere else. At present, clues to the murder are entirely lacking, and the location of the place where the deed was done was the first point necessary to establish. Okay. Quite a mouthful there. Let's see. Resume. Alright, so Watson, we need... Whoops. We need... Gosh dang it. Switch. Oh, that's how I did it. Okay. Alright, there we go. Now we can move around. Hey, that looks like a map.
A map of London, at last. Let's see. The district of Whitechapel.
Oh, there's Whitechapel. Police station.
I found the map, Holmes, and I was able to
Yay.
locate the Whitechapel police station.
Congratulations, Watson. Come, the game is afoot. You can read the article to me on the way.
Okay then.
We have arrived, Watson, in Whitechapel.
Not very bright, and what cold. Brr, a typical London morning.
Come, Watson, let's find this police station.
Oh. I'm guessing it's that door.
Well, this station isn't very well kept, I say.
It's a local outpost, Watson. The daily tasks that confront these constables are not the easiest, and they are poorly paid.
Ow. Poor dude.
Gentlemen, welcome.
Hello, I would like to speak with the Chief Inspector, if you please.
Constable Humphreys here. I am the only one in at the moment. What do you want with the chief?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. I am...
Sherlock Holmes? The detective that I read about in the papers? Well, that's a treat, that is. You come about the Buck Road case, have you?
Indeed, we...
Not at all. We were just passing by chance. You say that there was a crime recently.
I'm
you
not
don't
doing that.
know? You must be the only folk in London who haven't heard.
It won't be long until you find the culprit, no doubt.
Nothing is less certain. Suspects 0. Clues 0. It's not good for us, especially not in this district.
The report.
Listen, this isn't what I came here for, but if I can be of service, in a confidential capacity, of course, if you can entrust me with a copy of the preliminary reports, I
Yeah.
could study them and return later with my conclusions.
It's just that these are official documents.
Oh.
I can't take a decision like that without the inspectors.
The sooner we know the facts in the file, the sooner we can be of help, my friend.
Say, if you are Sherlock Holmes, you can find anything, isn't that true? With your magnifying glass, footprints.
My performance is often embellished by my biographer.
Ah, good.
Oh.
Good. I will give you the reports, but could you do me a small favour first? During my rounds, I dropped a leather folder containing some papers. Nothing of importance, but it's a big mistake. I would go looking for it myself, but I am stuck here on duty. I must have lost it near the seedy boarding house not far from here. Left when you leave the courtyard and left again in the lane. Perhaps you could go, ask around.
Left and left. Got it. Okay.
We shall see what we can do.
Got it. Got it. Left when you leave the
Are we
courtyard
going to
and
go
then
look
left
for
again.
these documents?
Why not? It'll give us an occasion to take a tour of the district, Watson.
Doo-doo. Alright. So, first left. I'm guessing it's left. Doo-doo. And then left. Hello.
Good day, sir. You wouldn't happen to have seen a leather folder on the ground around here, would you?
Good day, gentlemen. Finley, caretaker of this building.
Day.
Here to serve. And yes, less than an hour ago. But some of the local urchins picked it up and God only knows where it might be now.
That's unfortunate. This police bag contained documents that the local police will miss.
Your inspectors?
Not at all. I am Dr. Watson, and this is Sherlock Holmes, the detective.
Sherlock Holmes, the great detective. You must be here about last night's murder. Have you discovered the identity of the poor woman?
Indeed, I'd only to read the papers.
Mine is dated from this morning, and it does not say who it is.
I'm not really engaged in this case, but if I can help the police, I will do so willingly.
Oh, to be sure. I've been told that Inspector Aberline is in charge. A very capable man.
Oh.
So, according to you, I have no chance of finding this folder then?
Indeed. But I, on the other hand, should be able to find it.
Oh.
Do me a
that's
favour, in
convenient.
exchange, a vagrant comes almost every night to sleep in one of the nooks not far from my windows. He coughs, howls, sometimes even sings. He's quite hefty and I don't dare approach him. I've lost 3 tenants because of him. If it's you who speaks to the police, they will take this matter more seriously. Tell them about the captain. They'll know who you're talking about. In the meantime, I'll find your police bag.
East London Advertiser. Another Whitechapel mystery. Horrible murder in Bucks Row, Whitechapel. Scarcely is the horror and sensation caused by the discovery of the murdered woman in Whitechapel some short time ago had time to abate when another discovery is made, which, for the brutality exercised on the victim, is even more shocking and will no doubt create as great a sensation in the vicinity as its predecessor. The affair up to the present is enveloped in complete mystery, and the police have as yet no evidence to trace the perpetrators of the horrible deed. The facts are that Constable John Neal was walking down Bucks Road, Thomas Street, Whitechapel, about 3:45 on Friday morning when he discovered a woman between 35 and 40 years of age lying at the side of the street with her throat cut right open from ear to ear. The instrument with which the deed was done transversing the throat from left to right. The wound was about 2 inches wide and blood was flowing profusely. She was discovered to be lying in a pool of blood. She was immediately conveyed to the Whitechapel mortuary, when it was found that besides the wound in the throat, the lower part of the abdomen was completely ripped open and the bowels protruding. The wound extends nearly to her breast and must have been affected with a large knife. As the corpse lies in the mortuary, it presents a ghastly sight. The victim seems to be between 35 and 40 years of age and measures 5 feet 2 inches in height. The hands are bruised and bear evidence of having engaged in a severe struggle. There is the impression of a ring having been worn on one of the deceased's fingers, but there is nothing to show that it had been wrenched from her in a struggle. Some of the front teeth have been knocked out, and the face is bruised on both cheeks and very much discolored. Deceased wore a rough brown ulster with large buttons in front. Her clothes are torn and cut up in several places, bearing evidence of the ferocity with which the murder was committed. The only way by which the police can prosecute an inquiry at present is by finding someone who can identify the deceased and then, if possible, trace those in whose company she was last seen. In Bucks Row, naturally, the greatest excitement prevails, and several persons in the neighborhood state that an affray occurred shortly after midnight, but no screams were heard, nor anything beyond that might have been considered evidence of an ordinary brawl. In any case, the police unfortunately will have great difficulty in bringing to justice the murderer or murderers. Great fire at London warehouses. A fire broke out shortly before 9 o'clock on Thursday night in one of the huge warehouses of the London warehouses. The warehouses were closed, as usual, at 4 in the afternoon, and there are then few persons except the night policemen and firemen left on the premises. At about 8:30, a smell of fire was noticed, and shortly afterwards there was an immense burst of flames from the top of one of the vast buildings right in the center of the warehouses. The volume of the fire was terrific, but at 9 o'clock the authorities of the fire brigade had heard nothing of the occurrence. Shortly afterwards, an alarm was given at the Whitechapel station, and the officials of the brigade instantly ordered every steamer to proceed to the scene, and the circulation of the news amongst the other stations caused steamers to be sent on from every district in London. On arrival of the engines, it was found that a fire of enormous strength was raging in the upper floors of a great building about 150 yards long and half as broad. The flames could not have broken out in a more dangerous part of the warehouses than the site of the fire. The South Quay warehouses, they were crammed with colonial produce in the upper floors and brandy and gin in the lower floors. Through the great iron-barred windows the fire could be seen raging like a furnace, and the enormous tongues of bluish and yellow flames which constantly burst up with great roars pointed to the fact that spirits were aiding the progress of the flames. The scene at 10:30 was an imposing one, and the enormous warehouses crammed with goods of incalculable value, with vast buildings on every side, and with great vessels in the wet warehouses. Firemen, policemen, and dock officers were either watching or aiding in endeavoring to extinguish the fire, while an enormous crowd gathered round the great gates and gazed at the progress of the fire from a distance. All right, then. So there's a fire going on while murders were going on. Maybe a distraction? We shall see.
Let's go to the police station.
All right, back to the police station, I guess. Boop-a-doo, boop-a-doo, boop-a-doo. Whoops. Wrong button. There we go. Oh, yeah.
So, gentlemen, have you found my police bag?
Not quite yet. Do you know a vagrant who goes by the name of the Captain?
Captain? Yes, an old sailor, strong as a Turk and tattooed from head to toe. The drink has turned him into a derelict.
He appears to be causing some problems for the caretaker of the building at the end of the street.
What do you want us to do? Every night, stairwells, halls and porches become public dormitories, and people don't only come to sleep. I believe this man has a niece who puts him up sometimes. Her lodgings are in Commercial Street, right after the alley with the boarding house. You won't forget my folder, will you?
Do-do-do.
Do you believe this woman will agree to have her uncle stay with her?
No idea. Oh well, let's go see her just the same.